You know, we all know that challenges are a part of everyday life. So how can we as parents prepare our children to be strong in the face of adversity, handle disappointment, and manage their emotions when it feels like life isn't going their way? Joining us today is Susie Mogg, founder of Resilience in Kids, and she's here to talk to us about how we can understand this issue and empower our children. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to learn about this. I have a 2-year-old, and I know we all have kids, and we'd love to have more resilient children. Can you just start us off with very basic? What is resilience?
So resilience is about being able to respond with confidence to challenges. It is a process. It involves a set of thoughts, behaviours, actions, and the really exciting thing is that it has been codified, and so it can now be taught. It is a skill that we can learn.
So then you're saying not everybody's born with resilience?
Resilience is made up of a number of different factors. There are many influences on whether we can respond resiliently to a situation. So yes, many of us are born with a set of characteristics that can predispose us to being able to respond in that way. There's then the learned skill component of it, and then there's the broader environment and the influences that that has. So by that I mean your parents, your family context, the school that you go to, your broader sense of community, the society that you live in. All of that together and how those interact is what determines whether you respond resiliently to a situation or not.
So how old can I start resilient training my child?
You can start from a very early age, and we like to coin this term of parent as resilience coach. So as a parent, you are every day presented with the most incredible opportunities to build resilience in your kids. And it really is a wonderful thing, because as parents you do have such a big influence on your kids. So when we run our programs for parents, we like them to feel, yeah, you could see it as pressure, but it is a wonderful opportunity, and we like parents to really feel in control, motivated, empowered to really try and affect some change.
So Susie, what's the difference between that role as parent versus resilient coach? Like, what are you doing? Is it as a parent you're nurturing and you're pulling them close, and as a resilient coach you're kind of telling them like chin up and, you know, toughen up a bit, or how does that work?
So resilience coaching is really about giving your kids the skills to be able to respond with confidence to those tricky situations that come up. And when we talk about resilience, we talk about adversity and facing adversity. And it's easy to think that that's all about trauma and those really big things that happen. But we go through this every day, and we talk about the everyday challenges that we or that kids face. So falling out with a friend in the playground, or, you know, not doing well in a test, or not getting into the netball team when you've practiced so hard for it. So, yes.
You talk about doing it from a young age, and that's, you know, easy to do. What about teenagers? Can you build resilience into them? Because there's so much out in the news today about how they're not coping with life adversity. Can you build resilience in older kids?
I think you can. I think if you are aware of what a resilient child looks like, and what a parent resilience coach looks like, and what the skills are that you need to have and that you need to be building in your kids, then I think you can. But I do believe that the earlier you start, the better.
So you said what a resilient child looks like. What does a resilient child look like?
Yeah, there are many different characteristics of a resilient child. A resilient child is someone that's able to manage their emotions, someone who's aware, I talk about the growth mindset, the Carol Dweck model, who's aware of the growth mindset, who can persevere, who sees failures or making mistakes as opportunities to learn. I've developed a framework that's got 8 pillars that we talk to. But there are some very simple things that parents can be doing day in, day out. So we talk a lot about emotion coaching in Resilience in Kids. So just teaching kids to be aware of their bodies and the emotions that they're feeling, and helping to give them a language around what those emotions are. So at home we've got a thing on the fridge that's got a list of all these different feelings and emotions, so that we can develop that emotional vocabulary. And also giving children opportunities to, we talk about have time in. So rather than the sort of traditional time out, you know, you've thrown a tantrum, or you're really angry, or you've said that I hate my sister and I wish she hadn't been born. Many of us hear, and as a parent, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that. But let's see that as an opportunity for intimacy and teaching. Let's have a little hug, let's sit down, and let's say all feelings are okay. Any actions associated with those, like thumping or punching, is not acceptable.
Wow.
Let's sit with that emotion. There's usually something underpinning that, and if you can sit with it, you can sometimes get that little nugget of gold that can just make you go, now I know what's really going on here.
So Susie, I'm thinking about a situation, maybe a child is playing a sport and they don't win, you know, what type of coaching would you do around that would you see as good behavior in that situation a resilient child would display?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and it's a tricky one to answer in the sense that I don't know the full context, I don't know the child, don't know the parents, and so on. But yeah, a typical reaction would be to show a bit of empathy, and I think this is such a critical skill for kids, for parents and for kids. But I can see that you're feeling really upset about that. You want to talk about it? And
so just acknowledging those feelings.
It's acknowledging and validating those feelings, and I think being heard is something that all of us need to feel, whether it's with our partners, whether it's with work colleagues, whether it's mum and dad. And I think that interaction, that a child then feels that they've been heard, they feel that their feelings have been validated, and I can trust mum or dad and I can have this conversation with them, I think is really important. And then not going the step further, which might be to become a lawnmower parent and to go and speak to the coach or get the next coach in.
Or a hoverer. Oh, Caroline, I'm a caring parent.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
So then it's the parent who needs the resilient training in that case if they're going up to the coach and...
And it depends what's going on in that circumstance, but I do think as parents we do need to take a bit of a step back. I mean, there are new parenting styles, and we see a lot in the media about helicopter parents and lawnmower
Stop pointing at me.
Just looking around the room.
So do you think because of different parenting styles that have come through our culture or whatever, do you think kids are more fragile today than they used to be?
There's a lot in the media around that. There's a lot about cotton wool kids and this general sense of fragility. And I do think that there is a case for that, especially where they are parented by a helicopter parent that is quite overprotective, or by a lawnmower parent that just wants to remove all obstacles from their path. And I think the key is not for parents to just completely back off and not spend time with their kids. It's just for them to shift their focus. And so to, instead of hovering, is to take a step back and do some research into, well, what are the developmental milestones for children of this age? Is it time for my 9-year-old to be packing their own lunch and walking to school by themselves? Is this okay? It's easy to sort of wake up one morning and go, oh, got a 9-year-old, I'm still packing their bag, and I'm still doing all this stuff for them that I perhaps shouldn't be doing. So
let them have the consequences at school if they've forgotten something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's interesting is thinking about this idea of dads and fragility, because often we'll see that dads will treat their little girls like kind of a princess, you know? Do you see any idea around this, the way fathers are treating their daughters and creating resilience between that relationship of maybe fathers and daughters?
Yeah, it was interesting seeing your segment earlier around the influence that fathers can have on their daughters, and I think there was some research recently published that talked about when fathers treat their daughters as princesses, that it can lead to an increase in anxiety disorders when they reach teenage years or older. And I think when I think of the word princess, I do think of someone who's maybe a bit, needs the red carpet rolled out for them, is maybe a bit spoiled, is very nice, very gentle, very kind, very focused on what they look like. And I think whether you treat a girl like that or whether you treat a boy like that, then I do think that there are risks associated with that. But I do feel a bit concerned about just focusing on the girls here, because I think boys are brought up in this culture where they're told to man up or to grow up hair.
Cry
and don't cry, stop crying. To cry is a natural human emotion. So I feel that boys need to be told it's okay to express these emotions. And if they're aware of their emotions from an early age, when they're 17 and they're asked to get into a car with their friend who's joyriding and who's drunk, they can recognise the feeling in the pit of their stomach that says, I'm not sure this is a very good idea. I think I'll pass things.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been amazing to talk to you about this idea of resilience and to be able to create resilient children. That's what we're all hoping to do as parents with our boys and with our girls. Thank you. I want to thank you for joining us here today at the table. And we'd love for you to stay connected with us on our social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as our website. I can't wait to hang out with you again, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, ladies, for being with me here today on the show. See you later.